I'm White Hat. I've been speedrunning for 10 years now, and I've been mainly known for NES speedruns for most of that time. Even though I've branched out to a lot of other systems, NES is still my favorite overall, so I wanted to make something going over a bunch of runs I think people should give a shot. My goal is to show a few clips of gameplay, give a brief description for each game, and maybe that will pique your interest in something enough to check out the run more. Not every game is a quote-unquote high-quality game. There's going to be some jank in quite a few games, but I think we can all use a little more jank in our lives. So try not to outright reject anything that grabs your interest without putting in at least some effort to getting used to the game. I have personally run every game here, so if you see something that looks interesting and you want to see more of the run, I'll have a link to a spreadsheet with all of my runs for all these games in the description, along with any resources, since some of these games I've done tutorials for. So yeah, hopefully people are able to find some new stuff to run out of these. All the clips were recorded off Mr. FPGA, and there's no ratings or anything for the games, just gonna roll through alphabetically. So yeah, let's begin. Adventure Island 4. Different from the first three in the series, this one is actually a Metroidvania. You still have all your dino buddies, but you're running around in order to beat different bosses, and then you get items that let you access more of the island. So maybe if you don't like the linear and really difficult like first three, you should check this one out. I will admit Tom Sawyer has a bit of jank and a few long auto-scrollers, but if you can push past those 2 points, I think it's actually a pretty fun run, and it's really satisfying to figure out how to get through each of the stages without slowing down. Airball is an unreleased isometric platformer where you run around, collect items, and bring them back to the start. I would recommend easy to start, see if you like it. Then the other difficulties, they just progressively the items get further away from the start. Yeah, if you like Solstice, I would say, yeah, definitely give this one a try. Aladdin, the bootleg port of the Super Nintendo Aladdin by the legendary Hummer team. Looks great, plays pretty well despite some jank here and there, but it is miles better than the official licensed Aladdin that came to PAL territories. So this is the one to go with. Alwa's Awakening, the amazing homebrew port by Brad Smith of the indie Metroidvania. Just a great game overall. Really fun for just casual playthrough, and I've only run any percent, is where you sort of run, get the bubble item, and then you get out of bounds and just run to the final boss. But if you want to see more of the game, there is a non-out of bounds category as well. What if we mix Indiana Jones with Bionic Commando? Do that, and you basically have Arumana here. A really cool Konami platformer where you platform your way through with the aid of your grappling hook. A really unique run. You use the grappling hook to get inside the walls, and just a really satisfying run once you get the mechanics down. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Really short run, under 5 minutes. A little bit janky with the controls, but there's some neat little skips. Yeah, not a whole lot to the game, just a nice short one. Barbie. Well, it might appear to be a little bit silly. In practice, it's actually quite a fun speedrun. There's a little bit of jank with how some of the platform hitboxes are, but once you understand that, the game breaks down to be like extremely precise throughout most of the run, which makes it really satisfying to like overcome that little bit of jank. Force Ape, an unreleased platformer, really fast-moving game, one of the fastest on the system. Only 3 stages, and there's some cool skips in there. So if you're looking for like a technical, really fast-moving, short platformer, like this is the one. Like, under 6 minutes is a good time. Miracle, the Konami baby game. Another one where it looks a little silly, but when you really get into it, it's actually pretty technical to save time in the game. Since you move at a fixed rate, it's all about inflating enemies and walking on them to boost yourself forward, and then having really good boss kills, which also can be pretty technical. Really fun game overall though. Blues Brothers, another very fast-moving platformer, another really short run. It can be a little tough to avoid damage when you're starting out, but once you get the hang of how to avoid enemies, it is just super fun to zoom through the levels. There's a couple skips in the first 2 stages, and that's why the run ends up being really short. Once you get good at the game, you're looking at like 6 minutes, like a 6-minute run. Bobl, the excellent homebrew from Morphcat Games. Very unique spin on a platformer. It's a Metroidvania. You float around as a bubble and gain new powers in order to access new parts. Really fun speedrun. It's a short run. Has a nice risk reward if you want to skip checkpoints in order to take death warps. Yeah, overall, it's really excellent game. Bonk's Adventure, a port of the TurboGrafx 16 game. This version, technically, it is not as good as that TurboGrafx version, but if you just take it on its own for what it is still a really good, really solid platformer. Most of the run consists of doing flower boosts and then hovering through the air. So if you're not into mashing, maybe don't go for this one, or just do slightly slower strats. But if you don't have a problem with mashing, this one is pretty fun. Boomerang Kid, one of the 4 games on the Quattro Adventure Unlicensed cart. Single screen, like arcade style platformer, where you go around and collect the items and then make it to the exit. Gameplay it's a little stiff, but if you get used to it, it's actually really fun to rat out your way through all the different stages. Captain Silver. It's sort of a hack and slash platformer on Famicom. You mainly just run through all the stages as quickly as you can, trying to avoid damage. Don't really have a ton to say about this one. I just think it's kind of a neat game. Some of the bosses look really cool. CJs Elephant Antics, another unlicensed Quattro game. This is on the arcade cart. Pretty standard platformer. Run through the stages, beat a boss at the end. Main thing is you need to get good RNG with the drops. You ideally want to get the soda drops, which make you run really fast, and you need to get bomb drops throughout, because bombs are your best weapon. Cliffhanger. Simple run overall. You can hold right and jump, you can do this run. Despite how ugly the game is, especially for how late it released, actually turns out to be a pretty fun run. There's a few RNG spots if you're going for like a top time, but if you're just going for a good time, the run's pretty consistent. I mean, any game where you can sled down a hill on a defeated enemy, that's you gotta run this. Conan. This is not a good casual game. It's extremely cryptic and obtuse, but I mean, for a speedrun, we already know what to do. There's RNG throughout that you have to deal with the enemy spawns, but if you can handle that and deal with the stiff controls, they are a little janky. Turns out to be really short, I think pretty interesting run. There's a really cool skip in the final stage, and I do have a video explaining more in detail the whole run. Cowboy Kid. Pretty much Goemon in the Wild West. Sort of a top-down action game. You run through 7 different stages. Movement is really quick in the game. Feels really snappy once you get the levels memorized. If you're looking for like a little bit of a longer run, still under 30 minutes, that isn't too difficult. I think this one is really fun. Cybernoid. Spaceship action game. You make your way through 3 different stages, using a bunch of different sub-weapons to get past the obstacles. Figuring out how to route in items and where to take deaths is what makes the run interesting. It's a bit janky with you can get stuck on certain stuff, but it's pretty consistent where that happens. Any percent uses a glitch which skips screens, but it's a bit random and unpredictable, so I would recommend trying to do it without that, at least to start out. Data Man. A great newer homebrew. It's a top-down arena shooter. Smash TV style. You just eliminate the enemies on every stage. There's 20 stages and a handful of bosses. Just controls fantastically. It's just such a fun game. There's normal and hard difficulty, and there's also co-op. Digger T-Rock. Really short platformer, one of the lesser known games made by Rare. Only 8 stages, and the first 3 you skip past pretty much immediately using warps. And all the rest of the stages you open a door and just make it to the exit. So yeah, if you're looking for just a really short, just solid game, I have a tutorial for this one. Put in just like a little bit of work, easily under 4 minutes. Dizzy the Adventurer. Part of the classic European computer series. An adventure game with platforming. Run around, collect items to use to get further items, and you're doing all that to get all the collectibles and save the king. Dizzy is a bit stiff to control. It's committed jump. But if you're looking for like an adventure game that's not purely menuing, this one's pretty short and pretty solid. DuckTales 2. Obviously the late release sequel to the classic game. About the same amount of stages. There's one boss that is major RNG, the Moo boss. But past that, the game is really consistent. feel like it controls a lot better, plays a lot better, feels really smooth. Overall, really fun run, even though it's just a few minutes longer than the first. Espitene, homebrew platformer from Mohan Twins. Essentially a port of the Sega Master System Sonic 1, but instead of scrolling, it's a single screen, flip screen platformer. Controls pretty well, can be a little bit slippery, but there's some really cool skips for some of the stages, and yeah, overall just like a really solid run. Gargoyle's Quest 2, part of the Ghosts and Goblins spin-off series, where you play as a red armor. Unique platformer. The twist is that since you're an armor, you can float along for a limited time, and as you get further throughout the game, you get stronger, you can float longer, and you gain new powers to help you make it through the stages. Overall, this is such a good game, and the run is also really fun. Like, I highly recommend this one. Gekkitotsu Yonku Battle, a Famicom game published by Irem. Sort of a top-down destruction derby type game. You need to make your way through 8 stages. Each stage there's a certain amount of enemies you need to destroy. After every stage you unlock new cars, so they all play different, and their strategy and how you want to attack each stage. There's also a really cool risk reward with the flag mechanic. Ghoul School, a goofy platformer. Make your way through the Ghoul School to save the girl. The any % run is really cool. It's extremely broken. You do a lot of zipping and teleporting around. I highly recommend this one. It is a really short run. I have a tutorial for it. 30 minutes, I think, you put in the time. It will not take you too long to get an under 5-minute run. Haunted Halloween 86, homebrew platformer from Retrotainment. Make your way through, I believe, 7 stages as you try and get all the way through the town of Possum Hollow. Just really fun movement overall. You have a whole bunch of moves you get to make your way through the stages. There's also Haunted Halloween 85, which came first, but it's a bit of a simpler game, so if you want something a little simpler, definitely check that one out too. Holy Diver, the legendary Irem Famicom game. Known mostly for its difficulty casually. It's supposedly one of the hardest Famicom games. I think as a speedrun, it is not one of the hardest speedruns. It is a difficult game. A lot of memorizing patterns and then reacting correctly to them. But if you're looking for a challenging game that's really satisfying to like take control over, this one is really fun. Home Alone 2. Kind of a classic. Game is not very good, but the speedrun turns out to be pretty solid. Bit of RNG with the start of the run, the elevator cycles. Just need to get good cycles to get most amount of time saving, but the run is pretty straightforward after that. So yeah, if you want like short, under 10-minute, pretty solid run with a little bit of jank, this one is pretty fun. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the Ubisoft, not the Taito version. That one's a totally different game. I know this game is not very good, but at least to me, there's something charming about it. How ugly it is and how it's kind of janky here and there. The run is actually pretty solid, and yeah, if you can handle the jank, it's a short one. I think under 10 minutes is a good time. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of fun. Irritating Ship, homebrew game by Fiskbit. Sort of an outer space obstacle course. You gotta fly your ship through a whole bunch of different hazards and make it to the end. You gotta deal with the momentum of your ship, staying in control. But once you get the hang of it, you can really zoom through the levels, especially with how accurate the sprite is. You can get very close to hazards, and as long as you're not touching them, you don't get hit. Yeah, really fun game. Jackal. Most people know the NES Jackal, but I'm recommending the Famicom Disk System version, which is very different than the NES version. Screen is only one screen wide, so there's no scrolling back and forth, and the run is quite a bit shorter, under 7 minutes. So if you like the regular Jackal, definitely check out the FDS version. It's really unique. Gym Power, homebrew by Shiru, port of the 16-bit platformer. You make your way through 5 sets of 3 stages. In my opinion, this is the best version of the game. Just feels more streamlined, looks good, plays, controls really well. I think just overall it's really fun, pretty fast-paced game. Definitely recommend. Altered Beast, the kind of weird port to the Famicom that I think not very many people know exists. I mean, it's Altered Beast. You power up through the levels, and once you turn into the beast form, then you eventually get to the boss. This one has a bunch of unique stages, which is kind of cool. You get to turn into a shark, so I think this is obviously the best version. Yeah, it's kind of janky overall, but since not many people know about it, figured I'd mention it. Kaiketsu Yanchamaru 2, the Famicom-only sequel to Kid Niki. Really smooth playing platformer. It's pretty simple overall. Like, the stages aren't very complex. But if you're just looking for like a short, nice playing game, this one's like around 10 minutes. This one's a good one. Kaiketsu Yanchamaru 3. So another Famicom only sequel to Kid Niki. Now this one is quite a bit more jank, being made by Micronix, but it is one of the best games they made. Overall, this one is a lot more dynamic. You have to do a lot more movement throughout the stages, like sliding and wall jumping. Once you get used to like the little bit of weirdness with it, it's actually pretty fun. The satisfying movement. Karate Kid. Another classic, bad casual game, but fun speedrun. A really short one. Once you get the hang of it and understand how to cheese your way through the levels and know when and where the biggest obstacles are, how to avoid them, this one comes in under 5 minutes. Like, really fun, short, pretty snappy speedrun. Kick Challenger. A really unique Famicom Disk System game. Sort of a top-down action kind of platformer. You're a character that has 2 disembodied feet, and you can only move 1 foot at a time, so you have to plan where you're going to plant your feet and where you're going to move to. Just really unique gameplay overall. Like, I would recommend giving it a shot, even though it seems kind of weird at the start. It really kind of just feels like an indie game to me. Like, it's a unique idea. King Kong 2, Famicom Konami game. Another top-down one here. This one plays a bit more like an action-y Zelda type game. Single screen. You're intended to run around and defeat a bunch of bosses before going to the end, but the any% run goes pretty much immediately to the final zone, and then you clip through into the final boss room. Really fun, short. You're looking at under 4 minutes once you get the hang of the run. Yeah, it's just a nice quick one. Labie de Mort, a homebrew port of an indie PC game. Platformer, single screen by screen, and you're running around collecting enough items to open the final boss door. Challenge comes where it's at one-hit deaths, so you want to use deaths effectively to avoid backtracking, and yeah, routing it is pretty fun. And this is another short one, like under 4 minutes once you have a route down. Lala The Magical, homebrew by Mohan Twins, another single screen platformer where you're going around the levels and collecting a certain number of items to beat the stages. Really cool thing about this one is the platform mechanic, where you, starting in stage 2, get to summon a platform under your feet. It makes for just really interesting movement throughout stages 2 and 3. But yeah, this is another short one, under 10 minutes. Just the movement mechanics are really neat. That's why I like it. Last Action Hero, kind of a jank little beat 'em up where you just go from point A to point B and you fight a boss in most stages. There's vertical stages where you do the same thing, but you're zigzagging back and forth. Got to deal with RNG with enemy spawns, and then there's big RNG boss, the helicopter. But other than that, it's just kind of a fun little game. Short one, under 10 minutes. Little Lancelot, a modern release of PAL exclusive Legend of Prince Valiant platformer with a couple of gallery shooter type stages mixed in. More of a slower moving platformer. Can be like a little bit unforgiving, but I kind of just want to highlight this one because this is a game not too many people have seen, and yeah, once you get the stages down, it actually isn't too bad. Little Samson, known as one of the most expensive NES games, it's also a really good speedrun. You get 4 characters you can switch between. They all have different abilities, but for the any percent speedrun, you use a lot of zips. You change characters to get into the wall and end stages early. I do have a tutorial for the zips for this one. Really fun, short run. Little Sisyphus, homebrew platformer by Puppy. The goal is you have a pearl that attaches to you with a chain, and you have to make your way up to the top of Mount Olympus. Now the pearl has its own momentum, so you have to wrestle with that. It's a challenging platformer. It is hard until you understand how to control the pearl, but once you get the hang of it, it's extremely satisfying to make your way quickly upwards. Lone Ranger, a multi-genre Konami game. I feel like this is kind of a hidden gem. There's a whole bunch of different gameplay styles you have to go through. Platforming, zapper sections, first-person dungeon crawler with a zapper, top-down action. This is the longest one that I have here. Comes in just under an hour. But if you want a challenging and interesting run, I think this one is pretty neat. Lost World, Jurassic Park, a bootleg port of the 16-bit game. Kind of the only meme run here today. Short, under 1 minute. You're gonna see the whole run in this clip. Basically, you do a wall clip through to get onto the roof, collect all the eggs, and then it gives you the ending. So yeah, this is just like a short one. You can just add to your list, do a few attempts, and that's it. Magic Kid Goo Goo, a Korean bootleg Famicom platformer. Most stages you just need to find a key and then make your way to the exit. And then at the end of the world, there's a boss fight. You have a few different animals you can transform into. I believe I only used the penguin in the run just for swimming faster. Overall, pretty decently good quality, especially for a bootleg. And I don't think anyone else has run it besides me, but it's a pretty solid game. Mario's Time Machine. Another silly looking one that turns out to be a pretty decent speedrun. Split up between arcade Mario Bros style minigames where you defeat the Koopas and get the item, and then you take the item to the correct time period and do a platforming stage. Kind of a repetitive run, but once you get into the groove of the minigames, it turns out to be pretty fun. Really short one, under 10 minutes. I recommend it. Master Chu and the Drunkard Who, unlicensed platformer. Each stage sort of breaks down as a scavenger hunt. You need to find the 8 yin-yang symbols, and then it'll take you to the boss. There's fixed spots where items can spawn in the stages, and they're going to be randomly scattered through those. So you run through the stages, checking everything, and I hope you find them all. It seems like it might not be fun, but for some reason, I don't know, this game is just kind of fun to just be checking everything and hope you get lucky. Mega Man 1. Obviously the most popular game here. One I used to be pretty known for. I prefer the all stages run, which is the zips. There's just something really satisfying about learning and then being able to hit the zips in this, since they are pixel perfect each time. I do have 2 really old tutorials that I think are still pretty decent for if you want to go for like a sub 20, but I would also recommend learning how to do these screen wrap buffer strats. But yeah, other than that, it's a great run. Metal Force, another Korean bootleg Famicom game. This time it's kind of a Mega Man style. It's a bit more streamlined. You don't get any boss powers. You just run through the stages and beat the bosses. But overall, it's a pretty solid game, especially for a bootleg. And once you get used to how the enemies spawn, the run is pretty smooth overall. It's like if it was a licensed game, it would be like a solid B game. Metal Storm, the excellent gravity flipping platformer. I've only run any percent. It involves hitting a bunch of frame perfect wrong warps, but for starting out I would recommend the no wrong warp category. The game has no real RNG, so it's all execution, and then I think once you get confident with the game, you can start adding in wrong warps. Otherwise you're likely to get frustrated, but overall really fun run. Really the mechanics are so fun with flipping the gravity. Micro Mages, another amazing homebrew from Morphcat Games. Now the game is a vertically scrolling auto-scroller, but the thing that makes it fun to speedrun is that the closer you are to the top of the screen, the faster the screen scrolls. So there's an awesome risk reward with being close to where the enemies are spawning and then pushing the screen to be faster. It's also really fun mechanics with the seagull. And the game is also co-op for up to 4 players, which is super cool. Monty on the Run, platformer for the FDS. We're trying to help prove the innocence of Monty by putting together a picture of the person that framed us. Now in each stage there's going to be 3 pieces of the picture you need to find. So you hunt for the 3 pieces of the picture and then fight the boss. And then at the very end you solve a puzzle to put the picture together. Just like a pretty neat little platformer for the FDS. Moon Crystal, a Famicom platformer. Maybe most known for how ridiculously smooth the main character's animation is. Bunch of really neat mechanics in the game. You got double jump, you have ledge grabbing, and there's a really interesting mechanic with the bosses that if you're down to 1 HP during the fight, you do critical damage on the bosses, so there's a really nice risk reward for the run, trying to save time on the bosses. Narc, port of the arcade game. I actually think they did a pretty good job translating the arcade game down to the NES. I don't think it's a particularly great game, but I find the speedrun to be pretty fun. There are a few big RNG spots in the run. Keycard drops are pretty random, and then actually where the car spawns on the bridge level is indeed random. But other than that, it's actually a solid run. New Ghostbusters 2. A really cool game that only came out for Famicom and PAL regions. Top-down action game where you go room to room, busting ghosts. Really interesting to route because the order that you capture ghosts causes further ones to spawn quicker. So figuring out the fastest way to clear all the rooms is pretty much the whole run, and I think that's what makes it pretty interesting. Nim and Nam. Cool homebrew. So it's like single screen, arcade style. Gotta eat all the enemies on the screen in order to move to the next level. This is another one where routing and figuring out how to eat all the enemies the fastest way is what makes the run interesting. Yeah, just a solid little game, and does have a 2-player co-op. Ninja Crusaders. Cool little ninja action game. Feels kind of like a mix between Ninja Gaiden and Contra, since it's one-hit deaths. You have a bunch of different animal buddies you can turn into based on the weapon that you have equipped. And yeah, this one just feels really fun to run through once you have all the enemies memorized. And yeah, this is just a really short, under 5 minutes is a good time if you just don't slow down much during the stages. Ninja Gaiden 3, specifically the Famicom version, since the enemy damage is not out of control in that one. For me, this is about neck and neck with Ninja Gaiden 2 for most fun out of the three. Yeah, it's a Ninja Gaiden game. Run through the levels, use sub weapons, and yeah, this one just feels super fun once you get the hang of it. Man 2 on Famicom. This one is a mix between a 2D platformer and top-down action game. Overall, simple game. You just make it to the end of the stage and beat the boss. This one is just like a pretty fun, really easy one. If you're looking for an easy run, this one is pretty solid. Pretty short, also under 15 minutes. Like, I recommend giving it a shot. Project Blue, homebrew by Toggle Switch and Franken Graphics. This one is kind of a run and gun platformer. Feels a little bit like maybe Mega Man mixed with Mario 1 type physics. This is probably one of my favorite homebrew speedruns. Just overall feels really smooth and satisfying once you have a route through the stages and you have everything memorized. Like, this one just is really fun. Pugsley's Scavenger Hunt. Kind of a difficult platformer. You're making your way through a bunch of different stages to rescue all the other Addams Family members. The main thing with this run is that you collect the speed up shoes, which make you run much faster, but if you get hit even once, you lose them, so you need to make it through a lot of the run without getting hit at all. So if you want a challenging platformer that's pretty fun movement, this one is not too bad. Quest Forge, cool little homebrew RPG, top down, Has kind of an interesting fighting bump mechanic. You hold down the attack button, a meter starts to go, and when you run into an enemy, whatever the meter is at, that's how much damage you do. So you want to aim for full meter, that gives you critical hits. So yeah, that's the cool risk reward, and yeah, overall just really fast moving run, under 10 minutes. Rambo. Kind of a mix with platformer and a beat 'em up, since you run around with just your knife most of the time, since it does the most damage. But yeah, you're running around, kind of a little bit of confusing levels, doing different things to get to the next part of the story. Yeah, I know this one is not the best game, but for some reason, at least to me, it's a really fun little speedrun. And yeah, there's some really cool skips you can do with clipping into walls, and I do have a video going over the different tricks for this run. RoboCop. Probably one of the easiest runs on the NES. So the select button in this game, you come to a stop, you hit it, block, and gives you about 1 full second of invulnerability. So the whole run is you walk along, get to an enemy, hesitate, hit select, and then just walk right through them. Now at the top level, there's a lot more smaller optimizations and mashing on the bosses to get a really good time. But just to finish runs, like, it's a pretty easy game. The Rocketeer. Kind of a standard platformer. Has a couple of unique mechanics. You have a bunch of different weapons you can swap through, kind of like Batman. So you need to manage your ammo throughout the run, and then there's also the rocket pack. You get rocket fuel drops, and you go much faster when you have the rocket. There's one stage that is pretty rough, the forest stage, but other than that, it's just kind of a basic platformer. Rocky and Bullwinkle. This one's kind of become a meme of a game, but I think as a speed run, it's actually a pretty great little run. Super short, under 5 minutes once you get it down. There's a number of spots where it's actually pretty technical, and I think the fun of this one comes from overcoming the amount of jank in the game, and it's actually is pretty satisfying to learn how to deal with the game. Rugrats, newer homebrew platformer. Feels heavily inspired by Mario 2. You have your 4 babies to choose from. They all have slightly different abilities. You go around through each stage and collect different Reptar coins, and you just need to get enough to unlock the final level. Nothing super crazy with the run, just like a really solid, high-quality platformer. And it also has 2-player co-op. Rygar. Probably one of my favorite runs on the system. I run the any %, which is the really broken category where you wrong warp between boss rooms, and then eventually at the end of the game in only a few minutes. I do have a tutorial going over how to do that route. I think it's pretty fun once you get the hang of it. I'd also recommend the no wrong warp category if you want to see the whole game. I think the game is just overall like somehow charmingly jank and just pretty fun. Sam's Journey, an excellent homebrew by Knights of Bites. Kind of a hop and bop platformer, like maybe adjacent to Mario 3. You get a bunch of different costumes that Sam can wear. They give him different powers to get through the stages. In my opinion, this is one of the best NES games ever, regardless of when the game was released. I think it is just an amazing game. I highly recommend playing it. Secret Ties, an unreleased platformer. Most stages are pretty linear, sort of just run, jump, slide, wall jump your way through the stages, and then they usually finish with a boss. I think the movement mechanics are what make this one pretty interesting. And yeah, it's kind of just a shame this one didn't get released, because overall it's a nice game. Snow Bros, classic single screen arcade game. In the Bobl style, you roll up enemies in snowballs, push them into the other enemies to defeat them, and then move on to the next level once they're all gone. And eventually at the end of the world you fight a boss. Yeah, this one's pretty simple, but really fun, routing out how to solve each screen. And in any percent, there are some warps that you can manipulate with the slot machine. Yeah, really fun one, and also co-op. Solstice. Most known for the amazing Tim Follin soundtrack. It's an isometric platformer where you're running all around to gather the pieces of the Staff of Demnos. Fast-moving run. You go through a lot of rooms, so it's a really dense run. This is one where you gotta put in the time to really memorize what screen is coming up before you get to it in order to save the most amount of time. Space Skulls, homebrew by Morphcat Games. This one's kind of what if Joust was like a full-on action game. It's a single screen by screen platformer. Most screens you have to clear out all the enemies to open up the door to keep moving. And the fun with this one is routing out like each screen how to defeat the enemies as quickly as possible while also keeping your health up. This one is just super fun, and also 2-player co-op. Spelunker. This is a game I think a lot of people do not like, but for me this is one of my favorite runs. It does take a good bit to get used to. If you fall more than just about the height of your character, you do die in this game, and you have limited lives. But I feel like once you get over the initial learning hump, the game becomes really fun to speedrun. There's some really cool death warps you can do, and yeah, it's a really short one, easily under 10 minutes. Spelunker 2, Famicom only sequel. It's kind of a weird one. I feel like most people don't know it exists. Instead of a straight up arcade style game, they turned into like an adventure platformer where you run around 3 large stages. You beat a couple of bosses and get items in order to beat the stage. Really just kind of an interesting, odd game. I feel like kind of compares with like maybe Goonies 2, something like that. Yeah, I'd say give it a try. It's pretty interesting. Stanley, The Search for Dr. Livingston. This is an adventure platformer. You have a big map you can explore, one tile at a time. Each time you enter a tile, you go to a 2D platformer screen that you have to get through in order to continue on. And you have to search the whole map looking for all the items you need to get to the end. Yeah, this one is just really unique overall, I think. I think it is close to being a hidden gem. But yeah, we're just really neat game overall. Star Wars, the Namco version. This is the one where you fight the Sasori Vader, who turns into a scorpion in the first level. Overall, it's a pretty cool run. The platforming, once you get the hang of it, is very slippery. Becomes really satisfying. There's a category where you use the warp power to warp forward in the stages, but I would recommend starting with the no warps to really get the hang of the run. The Storied Sword, a recent homebrew platformer. This is an action platformer. Kind of if you mix Ninja Gaiden with Batman wall jumping, that's what you have for the game. Really dynamic game. Feels really fun to run through the stages without slowing down. You get a couple of sub-weapons, but yeah, it's all about the slashing and the wall jumping. It's a super fun game overall. Stunt buggies on the unlicensed Quattro arcade cart. This is a top-down car maze type game, really similar to Rally X. You go around mazes and you have to collect all the bombs and make it to the exit. Just a simple concept overall, but there's a good bit of randomness with the enemy cars, which makes it interesting. And yeah, I think this is just a cool one to try. Super Pitfall, another legendary bad game with an interesting speedrun. You need to go all around a really huge map, collect a handful of items in order to get to the end. But the speedrun uses a couple of big skips. One most notable where you just hold against a wall and for some reason the game lets you clip in eventually. Yeah, just like a nice short one. I have a video explaining the run, and yeah, I think everyone should run Super Pitfall. Town and Country 2, Gorilla Safari. It's a gorilla riding a skateboard. Tiny Toon Adventure 6, a bootleg port of a Game Boy game by Hummer Team. Surprisingly good quality, especially for bootleg. Controls pretty well. Mostly a standard platformer, just get to the end of the stages and then usually beat a boss. There's a couple of big RNG spots with a minigame and then one boss, but other than that, it's a really nice little run. Tom and Jerry, another one of my top favorite NES runs. You run through 5 different stages, 2 levels each, and then a boss at the end. Movement is really fun in this one, pretty dynamic. There's a lot of little skips and some big skips. I think going for a sub 10-minute time, that's a really good time. If you want to push much lower than that, you're going to be having to deal with a lot of RNG at the start of the run. But I do have a video explaining all the different tricks for this one. Treasure Master, the swaggiest walk on the NES. It's a little bit of a silly run. You do a health underflow glitch at the very start, and then anything that is not a insta-kill, one-hit death, you are invulnerable to. So you sort of just run through the stages. But there is quite a bit of optimization besides that on how to get through the stages quickly. And yeah, I think this is just a cool one, and you have the Fallen jams to go with it. Twin Dragons, homebrew by Broke Studio. This is a really simple platformer. You just make it from the start of the stage to the end. Not a whole lot of in-depth mechanics. You just want to keep your health up and you don't slow down. So yeah, this is just a basic hold right platformer. Still really fun though. Utsurin Desu, Famicom platformer. This is kind of a troll game, and it's sort of all about messing with the player and subverting your expectations. But when you break it down, it's overall a really simple platformer. I think there's a newer invulnerability glitch, which is not in my PB. It was found after I ran the game. But yeah, overall, pretty simple platformer. Definitely an interesting one to check out. Vigilante Ninja 2, homebrew by NES Doug. It's actually a sequel to Purple Cape Man. Fairly simple platformer. Go left to right, then you fight a boss at the very end. There's a couple of sub-weapons you get, but the main tech of the game is that if you slide and jump at the same time, you maintain speed in the air. So it's all about memorizing the stages and trying to do that for the whole game. Yeah, it's just a neat little game, and has really, really good music. Ordner no Mori on FDS. This is a port of an arcade game. Pretty standard platformer. You just make your way through the stages. You're trying to collect money and power-ups for your weapon as you go through the game. You really want to get a certain amount of money to buy a weapon before ideally stage 3. Yeah, just kind of a neat platformer. I really had fun routing this one. Where's Waldo? I gotta put Waldo on the list. Obviously a simple game, find Waldo on each screen. It can be a little hard to see until you understand what he really looks like and the typical spots that he ends up. There is a manip, I believe, for starting on the very first level. But yeah, this is a nice, really short one. I say sub 230 is pretty good, but then I think going a lot lower than that is a little silly due to the randomness. Wampum. Cool platformer, kind of a Mega Man style, only with a melee weapon. You have a bunch of stages from the start. You can choose any of them. You just run through the stages, beat the boss, and then you get an item, and that helps you on further stages. Some of the items are strong on certain bosses, but not all of them. Pretty flat difficulty for the main stages, and then the final stage actually is quite a bit harder. But I do have a video going over every single hidden item location, and that really helps you stay alive. Widget, a cool little platformer. Not too many people have run. Fairly slow moving platformer at the start, but once you beat the first stage and you unlock the mouse, one of the power-ups you can turn into, the run starts to move pretty quick. There's a bit of RNG with several of the bosses, but besides that, it's just a solid little run. Wolfling, homebrew by Lazy Cow. A cool platformer where you start as a girl, and anytime you enter moonlight, you turn into a wolf. So it's all about figuring out how to be the right form at the right time, and you make your way through the large level, finding different keys in order to get further into the stage in order to get to the end. Yeah, just an interesting movement with the wolf, and then the animation is super nice. Wolverine, short platformer. A little weird that Wolverine actually cannot heal in the game, but besides that, it's a pretty fast moving and smooth run. A little bit of jank with some of the hitboxes on the platforms, but once you get used to that, the run is pretty consistent overall. There's a bit of RNG if you want to go for a top time, but besides that, yeah, just watch out for Sabretooth. Young Indie, pretty much Castlevania mixed with Indiana Jones, since your main weapon is the whip. Kind of a standard platformer, but actually the movement is pretty dynamic. You have a long landing animation when you land from a jump, so it's all about planning around that and trying to get moving again as soon as possible. A little bit of a difficult run, but pretty consistent once you understand how the enemies work and you have them all memorized. Zen Intergalactic Ninja, an awesome later release Konami game. This is sort of another one where they're just flexing that they can do a bunch of different genres. There's 2D platforming, there's isometric stages, there's minecart stages, there's a falling like chase sequence. Just really interesting stages all around. Movement's really fun. Yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It's a really neat one. So there's 100 games you should check out. We had NES, Famicom, FDS, unlicensed, and homebrew. Going over most of the spectrum of games. It's almost all platformers, but that's just what I gravitate towards. As I said at the start, there's a spreadsheet in the description with links to all my runs for each of the games mentioned, if you'd like to see any more of a particular run. Most of them I had world record in at some point, and some of them I still do. I think learning new games is one of the best parts of speedrunning, so I hope this has been a little helpful in showing off some games that you might not have looked at before, and I'd like to see people pick up some of them. I really do like all the games, but I understand some of the games aren't going to be for everyone. I'm usually able to answer questions about a particular game. You catch me streaming on Twitch, if I still remember the run. But yeah, I guess let me know if this was helpful and you end up going on to learn any of them. And that's it for this video. Peace.